Here we have, all right, so here we have survival guide for visitors and PMs. I think this is like late 2000s, maybe early 2010s. There's a mix of stuff. It starts off with the bylaws and such. They're just part of the bylaws. I don't know why. But then we get into this this survey. I guess either a survey of everyone, but it has all these questions on it, and someone answered them. We don't know who answered them, but here we go. First question: does Eastwind match up to the image of what you thought it was before you moved here? 2. If not, what's different? You can use extra paper if necessary. 1 and 2. In some ways, this is the first commune I've moved to, and the before-the-fact sentiments that came flooding my idealisms were ones of a terribly novel and free caliber. I didn't expect a utopia. Indeed, there are many disclaimers that loudly made haste to voice the contrary. Indeed, also, the measures of novelty and freedom are decidedly significant, especially in comparison to the urban pull-down to which I had been hitherto accustomed. But I was startled to see that the all-encompassing and pervasive camaraderie that I had perhaps anticipated was not nearly a force to be reckoned with. Rather, cliques and gossipy behavior reminiscent of high school seemed to prowl about with an eyebrow raised. Community unions, as isolated incidents, were admittedly not to be expected. And when there is a getting together, of everyone, it is an extraordinarily lonely seeming thing. Expression shows its face, and there isn't the intimidation of worrying of disrupting a particular group because of the feeling of being part of a whole. But why are said scenarios so few and far between? Why do they seem reliant on the strip down of inhibitions by way of alcoholic consumption? Let's see if maybe I can just go right up into this. I can't focus that close. I suppose I had expected something in the way of forums, a lot of opportunities to learn and share and pass on knowledge or ideas. One local with willing, eccentric individuals passionate about moving beyond preconceived social notions and helping one another muster the strength to do so. One locale. Sorry. I'm sick today, so. Surely community means something different to everyone, but I must admit that I was somewhat expecting an intertwined network, and not just settling for the luxury of not having to meet the monetary demands of an outside source, leaving the difference at that. The priorities of Eastwind seem very much maintenance-oriented as opposed to pursuing alternative methodologies. Of course, we must make great efforts to support ourselves so that we may live here comfortably. Having relaxed schedules and access to so much breathtaking land and valuable materials is certainly a privilege, but is there not interest beyond upkeep as far as channeled energy is concerned? I think it is safe to say we have exceeded comfort in the resources at our disposal. My personal priorities cry out a little when I think of our mutant carrots bloated with pesticides, our fleet of gasoline-only vehicles, the bewildered garden, coffee from bleeding South Americans, emphasis on art or lack thereof, rather. Other times I get the distinct feeling that I am living in a village, and my soul surges glad. Nature is not a removed and foreign thing. Women can feel free enough to not have to abide to the strange confines of modern, hairless, plastic expectation. There are rolling hills and modest living quarters and beautiful strange folk. It very much goes back and forth. I can't have the audacity to go commanding what this place should be. I know it's been decades in the making, with different people constantly entering and exiting. I guess I do wish some things that aren't present were here. I also know there are some people working really hard for what is oh no. I guess we don't have the rest of that one. I really liked what that person was writing, and I identify with that a lot. This is the only Double print sheet. Okay. Working really hard for what is important. I do really appreciate you asking these questions. I am curious as to what this place will one day embody, if it will wilt of apathy, or make great strides with change. I hope it becomes something even more beautiful. It can be immensely frustrating living here, but I will miss it when I go. I don't know how much I can denounce it, for I have decidedly not undergone any extensive measures to promote a substantial change. I don't really know if it would be welcome or if I could. Maybe that's part of the problem. Eastwind could definitely be more empowering. Again, I go back and forth. I won't go off on another pro and con list. This has already turned somewhat epic. But thank you for allowing me the opportunity to really put my thoughts down. Nothing will improve if no one poses inquiries that might challenge the unspoken existing norms, if they aren't well received at first, even if they aren't well received at first. I am a young person, and there are a lot of things going on in the world right now that I find entirely horrifying. I hope to meet up with some of the alternative movements that are happening and involve myself genuinely in what I am passionate about, to pursue the reasons why one would want to be in the world in the first place, to explore human capability, for it is staggeringly and awesomely great. Are you satisfied with the work that you are doing? Sometimes I feel so satisfied for it, I'll have been out in the sun in the garden for hours and just feel as though it's so rewarding and lonely. Other times, it's grouchy, solely obligation-oriented work, and that's, of course, but I see the necessity for it, though I'd like more opportunities for the former. Question 4. Do you feel that you are being adequately respected and compensated? As far as compensation goes, I feel as though I am afforded generous amenities monetarily and in shelter. Respect is somewhat iffy, for people here all seem to have different notions of worth. Sometimes I feel highly respected. Other times I suspect ageism to be a culprit. Uh-oh. Question 5. Would you like to have the opportunity to build your own personal shelter? Yes, nothing extraordinarily fancy. A teepee I dream often of, but I feel the shelter situation is pretty fair. Also, I do not know how in the slightest to go about building a home. I would love to learn sustainable building techniques, though. There are people who come to places and teach cob building workshops, etc. 6. Do you feel that you are investing in your future at Eastwind? I feel that moving here was a step in the right direction, being a part of alternative movements, but Eastwind itself is somewhat still, so it isn't addressing some of my strong beliefs. Somewhat still. That's a good way of putting it. Does Eastwind support your personal development? See above. Does Eastwind provide for your spiritual needs? Not really. I provide for my spiritual needs, but keep somewhat quiet about them, I suppose. I don't consider EW a spiritual place, but I don't expect others to believe in what I believe. Does the environment at EDubs tend to be competitive? Not terribly. 10. Would you like to see the population at EDubs expand or contract? More minds, more ideas. 11. Would you like to see more children at EDubs? Children are an imperative of community. It is good to learn from a variety of people. I do not know, however, if Eastwind is, at the time, a beneficial environment for children. I do not know, however, if Eastwind is, at the time, a beneficial environment for children, given the lacking emphasis on teaching and calm. Number 12. Would you like to see some item in legislation changed or removed? To be perfectly honest, political semantion here mostly eludes me. I don't know if they got that spelling correct on that. Would you like to see more or less guys? Would you like to see more or less gals? Certainly not less men. More women would be nice. Feminine energy is pretty important. I think that the following improvements would induce, in parentheses, course, bribe, more guys, gals, people to remain at EDubs. You can write a book on this if you like. I promise to read it. A safe established option for meditation, nutrition in the kitchen, organics, workshops, classes, blah, 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 goats, vehicles, and energy running off. A garden that's something to see, goats. All these things came after this person. All those things did come to pass. There were goats. There are no longer goats, but there could be goats again in the future. There were goats, and the garden are something to look at. It's amazing what the gardens have become since 2010, thanks to Mr. Richard and the work of many people over the years. Okay. camera cut out there, so that's why there's a hard cut there. Here's another one. Same questionnaire. Question 1. Does Eastwind match up to the image of what you thought it was before you moved here? No. Eastwind is the go fuck yourself communistic dig. Number 2. If not, what's different? Circle jerk. Relationships are immature. Dark power. Passive aggressive. Loveless sex is everywhere. Smoking with children is wrong. Satellite TV is wrong. No organic produce. Sad garden. Drums fail. No one cares. Rock bottom. Roach City. Number 3. Are you satisfied with the work that you are doing? Yes and no. I love my freedom in work time and what I do. The work scene is wonderfully flexible, but we need more workers and more art, music, and projects, like earth-quaking new breaths floating. Do you feel that you are being adequately respected and compensated? No. People talk shit behind my back and lie to each other. Number 5. Would you like to have the opportunity to build your own shelter? Yes, but I'm leaving. I would have built a tree house. Many, many houses like the Ewok village from Endor, with underground homes cradled under the roots, with gardens on the roof. Or change the business. Buy exotic, faraway land by the water to help save whales and to sing to them. Number 6, do you feel like you're investing in the future? No, I'm leaving. Does Eastwind support your personal development? Yes. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Now that's the truth right there. Eastwind will definitely support your personal development. Number 8, does Eastwind provide for your spiritual needs? No. I need more yoga and C, plus massage and good food. Nomad, family, tantra love. There are more massages and good food at Eastwind nowadays, or at least when I was there. Number 9, does the environment at Eastwind tend to be competitive? Yes. People enjoy hurting each other. Number 10, would you like to see the population at Eastwind expand or contract? Expand to Treehouse Island dwellers. Nomad sail whale moon. 11, would you like to see more children at Eastwind? Yes, more children, less smoke. Okay. Now we have, here's a letter from Sean Porter. This is September 05. Dear Eastwind family, during my most recent to Missouri and Eastwind, it dawned on me that the nut butter business is totally dependent upon the availability of affordable fuel and on a well-maintained interstate highway system. Most of us are aware that the petroleum and automobile industries are both extremely destructive and extremely precarious. By many accounts, business, as usual, will be dramatically curtailed as the global demand for oil continues to grow while the oil reserves themselves shrink. What will this mean for Eastwind? Within the next 5 to 10 years, it is quite possible Eastwind will see a significant loss of income, and with that, a greatly reduced ability to meet its basic needs. I believe it would be wise to begin planning now for the development of a more local economic ties and greater self-sufficiency. Eastwind may see a reduced income from their nut butter business and could begin planning now for a post-peak oil future. Man, 05, that's like right as the hydraulic fracturing boom in the U.S. was taking off. Like, oh dear, it was peak conventional oil. But talk about failed predictions. Not 5 to 10 years, but yeah, who knows. Some of the steps to be considered may involve 1. Drilling one or more wells that are operable by wind, solar, or hand pumps. 2. Outfitting all buildings with wood-burning stoves or furnaces for backup heat. 3. Diversifying the economic base of the community with an emphasis on local markets. Not a very big local market there in Ozark County. 4. Planting pecan and black walnut orchards for community sustenance and as a cash crop. Very cool idea. 5. Amending legislation to become a village. Eastwind owns an area of land that could conceivably support a much larger population, yet it is clear that Eastwind itself cannot on its own create, maintain, and govern a larger concentration of people, buildings, and business in the community as we know it. This reveals the crisis and opportunity that Eastwind faces, and it is one that the community has a chartered obligation to address. Oh, wow. Calling in the founder's vision right there. How to grow. For the past 12 months, I've been working on a draft of a proposal which outlines a set of steps towards transforming Eastwind into a village. If this proposal were approved and implemented over a period of years, Eastwind would eventually be one of several neighborhoods spread sparingly around the 1,000 or so acres the community now owns. Each neighborhood would have a different economic focus, a different character, and a different contribution to make towards the sustainability of the overall community. The common bonds would be the land, the stewardship of the environment, and the shared vision for a better future than what mainstream society presently offers. Creating the legislative framework for a village to grow would require overturning two pieces of legislation: the ban on building personal shelters and the ban on building on the new land. The new land being the most recent property acquisition at the time. It was a pretty significant tract. I'd like to work with anyone who is currently a member of Eastwind and who would be interested in carrying this idea forward, fine-tuning this proposal and bringing it before community. The draft is totally a working document, a starting point. Now, this is a very interesting idea, and it's one that I think would greatly strengthen the viability of Eastwind in that area. Just namely, having a little bit of like independent satellite communities of whatever kind. This guy's conceiving it as a proper village, but different village, different places with different cultures, but very close in proximity. Eastwind Community Land Trust / draft proposal. Eastwind presently has a diverse population. This proposal is aimed at providing alternatives for those who desire a different living arrangement than what Eastwind presently has to offer. With the passage of the proposal, Eastwind would be empowered to lease acreage to any eligible group of people following the process outlined in this proposal. Some reasons for this proposal are: A. Eastwind is at full population and has a chartered obligation as well as the desire and capacity to grow. Eastwind owns more than enough land to support well-planned and ecologically sound neighborhoods, satellites, branches, pods, and small living groups. Very true. Eastwind would benefit from the presence of people who do not live within the main community at Eastwind, but live close enough to share labor, establish complementary economic ties, and enjoy the social benefits of a larger and more diverse village style of community. This is all very true things. Purposes: to promote the natural beauty, native diversity, and long-term sustainability of Ozark ecosystems, to provide stewardship for lands that balance human interests with biological diversity, to foster the creation of sustainable economies with ecologically sound principles. Details. I don't know if this is worth reading. With the passage of this proposal, Eastwind would begin a process as follows. A group is formed, included but not limited to the people who would want to either be resident and or facilitators for a pilot project. Land is scouted. Meetings are held on the best location. Covenants and agreements for stewardship of land. Initial groups erect temporary structures, tents, yurts, teepees, rammed earth, cob dwellings, anything that's easily removable or biodegradable. A land use plan is developed during the first year. If it seems viable, it'll be a renewable lease or extension on the current agreements with or without modifications. Aiming towards long-term lease renewals. Eastwind could support the new groups by allowing current Eastwind members to participate in the project and claim up to blank hours per week for work done. Dual membership, etc. Also, you could just pay people as 1099 contractors, help them generate income. Associates on leave, as well as PMs and FMs, may live on the land, the pilot project, blah, blah, blah. Leases, an area of leased land. It just kind of talks about dividing up the leases and blah, blah, blah. Eligibility requirements. Must be at least 4 people. That's an interesting number. I would say that could be 2 couples, and that's not good. I would say you want at least 3 independent groups. So you could have like 3 couples or 3 independent people who don't have strong romantic ties. It's always hard to figure out what is that magic number? What is that magic? But yeah, why not just you could even have just couples living in homesteads, what's wrong with that too? They would have their own agreements, they would work for cash or something like that. Lease fees. Oh yeah, he even puts numbers to it. Valuing labor at $8 an hour. Lease of $20,000 over 10 years. All buildings. No grid utilities. All electricity must be generated using clean alternative technology. Yeah, so very eco-village type ideas here in '05 from Mr. Sean Porter. If a lease is given up or voided for any reason, another eligible tenant will be sought to purchase or adopt the lease, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so, just trying to get it together. Loose ends. As this process unfolds, the people involved in building and living on the new land will be creating their own economies, income, and using those assets to build and sustain themselves. Collectively, Eastwind may work with these new neighborhood groups to form an inclusive umbrella organization that would involve the larger land trust. The purpose of this would be to ensure that any decisions or discussions that affect leased properties and the residents would involve both leaseholders and Eastwind community members as equals. Eastwind may wish to engage the services of Ozark Regional Land Trust for this purpose. There are interesting organizations in that area that do this kind of thing. Thank you, Sean Porter, for your contribution here. Ooh.